You woke up today. Not everyone did. This morning was given to you. Don't waste it. What you do with it is on you. Show up, do the work, keep moving forward. That's Alton from Coffee Cup, made for mornings like this.
Welcome to Coffee Break. Thoughtful conversations for a busy world. Let's begin.
So, if you've listened to our previous 99 deep dives, you're probably smarter.
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully smarter, more articulate, definitely vastly more informed than you were when you started.
Right.
But what if I told you that every single hour you spent with us wasn't actually an investment in your future?
Oh, boy.
What if it was just a highly sophisticated strategy to avoid living your real life?
That is a rough way to start the show.
I know. But look, today is our 100th deep dive.
The century mark.
Exactly, the century mark. And we're holding a mirror up to the one truth you've been hiding from. And I am your host, by the way, ready to get very uncomfortable today.
And I'm the resident expert, equally uncomfortable. Because, it is a profoundly uncomfortable premise to start with.
Yeah.
Especially for a show that is entirely dedicated to the pursuit of knowledge. But that discomfort is exactly where we need to sit today.
We really do.
Because usually, we come armed with a mountain of white papers. We bring historical analyses, economic data sets, neurobiological studies.
I bring the heavy lifting.
Right. We take all that external noise and we distill it for you. But today, the architecture of our discussion is it's entirely different. We are looking inward.
We really are. The mission today isn't to comb through thousands of pages of external data to figure out how the world works.
No.
Instead, this entire deep dive is centered on a single, incredibly potent excerpt from a text titled The Final Confrontation with the One Truth.
This one single excerpt.
One excerpt. And honestly, I feel personally attacked by it.
I think we all do.
I cannot tell you how many internet domain names I've purchased over the years.
Oh, the domain graveyard.
Yes, the domain graveyard. For businesses, I was definitely absolutely going to start. I'd buy the domain, I'd design a beautiful logo.
Spend hours on the logo.
Hours. I'd read 3 thick books on market disruption, and then nothing.
Just absolutely nothing. The learning phase was really just a cozy blanket to hide my fear of actually launching something and, watching it fail.
Which is, it's a perfect illustration of the core problem here. We mistake the friction of preparation for the friction of progress.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, and that brings us to the source material today. Because it isn't a long chapter. It's not a thesis. It is literally just one sentence.
Yeah, a single sentence.
Right, and that singular quote is going to drive our entire conversation today.
Well, I'm going to read the exact quote right now.
Okay, for it.
Here it is. The one truth you've been avoiding for 99 episodes.
Ooh.
That is the whole thing. It feels less like a philosophical observation and more like a direct accusation.
Well, because it is an accusation.
Yeah.
But it's also an invitation.
Yeah.
What we are doing today is introducing the core thread that ties every single one of those previous 99 deep dives together.
Right.
All the history, the science, the sociology, it all funnels down to this. We're going to reveal what this one truth actually is. And it's not what people think it is.
No, it isn't some esoteric secret of the universe. The one truth we have all been avoiding is the fear of taking full responsibility for your own life.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because to truly understand this truth, we have to first understand how the source material is framing our encounter with it.
All right.
The text doesn't call this a gentle awakening. It uses the phrase final confrontation.
Final confrontation.
Yeah. If we look at the semantics of that, it changes the entire temperature of the room. We are moving from just reading a title to doing a microscopic analysis of those specific words.
Exactly. The author's choice of the word confrontation is very deliberate. It completely strips away the romanticism that we usually attach to self-improvement. I mean, think about the alternatives.
My boy.
Well, the text could have been titled The Final Discovery, right? Or The Ultimate Epiphany.
Yeah, that sounds much nicer.
They do. But discovery implies something passive. You trip over a discovery in the woods.
Right, or you're unexpectedly gifted an epiphany while taking a shower.
Exactly. A confrontation implies a pre-existing, protracted conflict. It suggests that you and we, all of us, have been in an active standoff with this truth for a very long time.
It's like we've been treating our own lives as a Cold War.
Yes.
You build up all these defenses, these intellectual borders.
Yeah.
But a confrontation means the Cold War just went hot.
It just went hot.
The enemy isn't at the gates anymore. They are in the living room. It's like running from a shadow. You know, you can turn corners, you can hide in a dark room, but eventually you have to step out into the noon sun.
That's a great way to put it.
The confrontation isn't a fight. It's just the sudden, unavoidable exposure to the light. And I guess the question that naturally follows is, who exactly is the enemy in a confrontation with the truth?
Well, the enemy is our own inertia.
Oof.
Yeah, and it's heavily guarded by a perfectly crafted narrative of evasion. So think back. We touched on this during our deep dive on the collapse of the Western Roman Empire.
Cool, right?
Do you remember how we discussed the Byzantine bureaucracy that developed toward the end?
Yeah, the endless layers.
Right. The state created endless layers of middle management, endless committees, endless reports.
Just paperwork everywhere.
Exactly. And the historical consensus wasn't that they were trying to be efficient. The bureaucracy was actually a psychological mechanism.
Right, to ensure that no single individual ever had to take responsibility for the collapsing borders.
You got it. If a province fell, it was the committee's fault. Or it was the supply chain's fault.
Or the fault of a delayed messenger.
Exactly.
I remember that. The structure itself was designed to diffuse blame. And we do the exact same thing on a micro level in our own lives.
We really do. We create internal bureaucracies.
Yeah. So to have a final confrontation means that all your internal evasion tactics have finally run out of road.
Yes.
You've used every excuse. You've deployed every intellectual defense mechanism. You've blamed your upbringing, your boss, the economy, the algorithm.
The algorithm is a popular one right now.
Always blame the algorithm. But now the bureaucracy has been stripped away. There's nowhere left to retreat.
Nowhere. And so I want the listener to just pause and reflect for a second. What does a confrontation with your own life choices actually look like?
Yeah.
Why does taking responsibility feel like going into battle? And who are we really fighting?
We're fighting ourselves. But let's talk about the psychological weight of the word final.
Okay.
When I read the final confrontation, it immediately makes my stomach drop.
Understandably.
Does it imply that once you face this truth, you can never unsee it?
Yeah.
Like you cross a line and you can never return to the bliss of ignorance once this deep dive is over.
I mean, yes, it is the crossing of a psychological Rubicon.
Wow.
We have to look at the utility of ignorance, because ignorance is an incredibly highly protective state.
It's a shield.
It is. When you don't know something, or, and this is more common, when you successfully pretend not to know something, you are absolved of the duty to act upon it.
Right. If you don't know that your spending habits are driving you toward bankruptcy, you don't have to experience the pain of budgeting.
Exactly. But the moment you engage in a final confrontation with the reality of your own agency, the architecture of your ignorance collapses completely.
You can try to go back to sleep, but you will always know you are just keeping your eyes squeezed shut.
Yeah.
You're essentially playing dead.
Playing dead in your own life. That is a brilliant way to phrase it.
Thanks.
In biology, tonic immobility, playing dead is a last resort prey response to a predator.
Right.
The rabbit freezes in the jaws of the fox, hoping the predator loses interest. But the predator we are facing here is time.
And time never loses interest.
Never. What the source text is aggressively suggesting is that for 99 episodes, you, the listener, have been engaged in a highly sophisticated, intellectually impressive form of playing dead.
That hits hard.
It does. Which brings us to the mechanics of the avoidance itself.
The avoidance. Yeah, this leads us to the second half of that brutal sentence from the source text. You've been avoiding for 99 episodes. If we are finally confronting this truth, we have to look at the exact mechanism of how we hide. And this hits incredibly close to home for anyone who considers themselves a lifelong learner.
What's fascinating here is the absolute paradox of the learner persona.
Okay, lay it out.
Look at what is happening right now. The listener shows up, they listen to the deep dives, they take notes.
They synthesize complex topics.
Right. They come to gain knowledge, to expand their worldview, to become better informed citizens and professionals. And our entire society reinforces this behavior.
Of course.
We are told from childhood that education and information gathering are the ultimate moral goods.
I am going to push back on behalf of all of us here, though, because learning is fundamentally a good thing. Right?
Yeah, of course it is.
We need educated people. We need people who understand nuance. How on earth can being curious or dedicating yourself to self-improvement and education be classified as a bad thing? How does that become avoidance?
Because gathering information about the world can become a completely frictionless substitute for taking responsibility for your place in the world.
A frictionless substitute.
Yes. Let's look at the neurobiology here, which we explored in our deep dive on the dopamine reward prediction error. Do you remember that one?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
The difference between expecting a reward and actually getting it.
Right. So when you read a book about, say, starting a business,
or buying 10 domain names,
or buying 10 domain names, or when you listen to a podcast about behavioral economics, your brain releases a massive dopamine hit. It chemically rewards you for acquiring a survival asset. And in our modern world, information is a survival asset.
It feels like an accomplishment.
But here is the trick your brain is playing on you. While the dopamine is flooding your system, giving you the sensation of a major victory, your amygdala, the brain's fear and risk center, stays completely quiet.
Wow.
Why? Because there is no physical or social risk to reading a book in your living room.
Right. You're completely safe.
You're totally safe. The aha moment here is realizing your brain has essentially hacked itself. It is chemically rewarding you for the feeling of progress while completely shielding you from the cortisol spike that comes with actual real-world risk.
So what does this all mean?
It means preparation has become procrastination.
It's the psychological equivalent of buying a high-end treadmill, you know.
Yeah.
You assemble it in your living room. You spend 3 days reading the instruction manual on cardiovascular optimization.
You watch YouTube videos about the optimal incline.
Exactly. And then you feel exhausted and profoundly accomplished.
Yeah.
Without ever actually turning the machine on.
Yep.
Like you said earlier, you mistake the friction of preparation for the friction of progress. It's like reading 99 different manuals on how to build a house, but never picking up a single brick because you're terrified you might lay it slightly crooked.
That is a much more accurate metaphor than the usual cliches because you haven't burned a single calorie, but your brain has logged the assembly and the reading as fitness. We do this constantly in our professional and personal lives. We use the acquisition of data to delay the execution of choice.
We really do.
We discussed this exact phenomenon during our series on military history. Specifically, we were looking at General George McClellan during the American Civil War.
Oh man, the ultimate overpreparer.
Exactly. President Lincoln was desperately trying to get McClellan to engage the Confederate Army. But McClellan always needed more information.
Always.
He needed more scouts. He needed more troops. He needed better weather. He needed a more detailed map of the Virginia Peninsula.
Just one more map and then we'll attack.
Right. He was building the greatest, most well-equipped army on the planet.
Yeah.
But his endless preparation was really just a psychological shield against the horrific reality and responsibility of actually sending men into battle.
Yeah.
Lincoln finally wrote to him saying, you know, if you are not using the army, I should like to borrow it for a while.
That historical parallel is just devastating.
It is.
Because as long as McClellan was just training the troops and gathering intelligence, he couldn't lose the war.
Precisely.
He remained in a state of pure potential. That is the comfort of the 99 episodes phase.
It's very comfortable.
It's this golden era of potential energy where you can just sit back, absorb facts, analyze other people's actions, and critique the world from the sidelines. Right. You never have to face the terrifying pressure of applying any of those facts to the messy, unpredictable reality of your own life.
It perfectly mimics the sensation of forward momentum without requiring any of the actual stakes. It is the ultimate safe space. Right. If you make a choice, if you launch the business, if you end the toxic relationship, or if you ask for the promotion reality, instantly collapses from infinite potential into one singular, highly flawed outcome.
And you have to own that outcome.
I do.
And if the outcome is bad, it's on you. Like if the domain name I bought actually becomes a live website and nobody visits it, I can no longer blame a lack of market research.
No, you can't.
I have to face the fact that maybe my idea just wasn't very good. Or maybe my execution was lazy. That is a brutal hit to the ego.
Which is why we have to issue a very direct challenge to you, the listener, right now.
Listen up.
I want you to ask yourself, how many times in your career, in your relationships, or in your creative pursuits have you used the phrase, I just need to learn a little more about this, as an excuse to delay making a definitive, life-altering choice?
I need to do more research.
Right.
I need to listen to one more deep dive. I need to read one more self-help book before I can start setting boundaries.
How many times has your pursuit of clarity actually just been camouflage for your fear of commitment?
That's the real question.
We often tell ourselves we are waiting for a guarantee of success, but what we are actually waiting for is an exemption from responsibility.
Oh, wow.
We want the data to make the decision for us, so if it fails, we can blame the data.
This sets up the transition from how we've been hiding to what we've been hiding from perfectly.
It does.
We've established the avoidance mechanism. The endless studying, the dopamine hits without the cortisol spikes, the 99 episodes of theoretical preparation.
Right.
Now, we have to strip away the last of those intellectual defenses and examine the truth itself. The core focus of everything we are talking about today, the fear of taking full responsibility.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, to the anatomy of this specific fear, we start to say why it is the one truth.
Okay, let's break that down.
What does taking full responsibility actually entail? It requires a complete, uncompromising abandonment of all your scapegoats.
All of them.
Every single one of them.
That is a terrifying proposition.
Yeah.
Because I love my scapegoats. They keep me warm at night.
We all love them. They are the shock absorbers of the human psyche.
Yeah.
But taking full responsibility means you can no longer blame the macroeconomic climate for your financial situation. You cannot blame bad luck. You cannot blame the way you were raised or your past trauma or the fact that someone else didn't give you the right information at the right time. Taking full responsibility is the solitary, unvarnished realization that the pen writing the story of your life is entirely, undeniably in your own hand.
Here's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
Because the key word there, the word that makes people sweat, is full.
Full responsibility.
Full. Let's be honest, we don't mind taking partial responsibility.
Not all.
When things go right, when you get the promotion, when the project succeeds, when the relationship is thriving, we are first in line to take responsibility for that.
Oh, absolutely.
We say, yes, I worked incredibly hard. I am brilliant. I orchestrated that success.
The psychological term for that is the self-serving bias.
Right.
We attribute positive events to our own character, but we attribute negative events to external factors. If I pass the test, I'm a genius. If I fail the test, the room was too noisy, the teacher was unfair, or the questions were poorly phrased.
But full responsibility means you have to own the failures, too.
Yes.
You have to own the stagnation. You have to own the messy parts, the embarrassing parts, the times you stayed silent when you should have spoken up.
Yeah.
The years you stayed in the wrong job, simply because the paycheck was comfortable and the unknown was scary.
That's a big one.
It means looking at the parts of your life that you are profoundly unhappy with and saying, I chose this. By my actions or by my passive inactions, I authored this situation.
That is a crushing weight for the human ego to bear.
It really is.
Because the ego is primarily a defense mechanism designed to protect our sense of self-worth. Its favorite tactic is projection finding, an external reason for an internal feeling of inadequacy.
We explored this deeply during our episodes on locus of control, didn't we?
Yes, we did. Individuals with an external locus of control believe that life happens to them. They are victims of circumstance.
Right.
Individuals with an internal locus of control believe they happen to life.
And the reason this fear is the ultimate one truth, the reason the source text claims it ties together all 99 of our previous deep dives, is that every single piece of knowledge we have ever discussed ultimately points back to human agency.
Exactly. Let's look at the breadth of what we've covered in the past. We did a deep dive on the 2008 financial crisis.
Yeah, that was a heavy one.
What was the root cause of that? It wasn't just abstract math. It was thousands of individuals at ratings agencies, banks, and regulatory bodies refusing to take responsibility for the toxic assets they were passing down the line.
They're just past the buck.
Right. Then we discussed the tragedy of the commons in environmental science. What is that?
It is the collective refusal of individuals to take responsibility for shared resources, assuming someone else will fix it.
Exactly. We discuss the neurobiology of habit loops. What breaks a negative habit loop?
An individual prefrontal cortex overriding the basal ganglia and taking conscious responsibility for an action.
You see the pattern.
The universe is unfathomably complex. The systems we operate in are massive, historically entrenched, and often deeply unfair.
Very unfair.
But your response to that complexity, your navigation through those unfair systems, that is entirely your burden. You cannot control the weather, the economy, or the psychological baggage of the people you interact with. But you are 100% responsible for your reaction to all of it.
And this is where you, the listener, might be feeling backed into a corner right now.
Yeah, we kind of trapped them.
We have systematically removed every excuse. But I want to point out something crucial here.
Please do.
Recognizing this fear, dropping the scapegoats, and facing this confrontation feels like a death sentence to the ego. But mechanically, it is the most liberating psychological shift a human being can make.
Liberating.
Yes.
Because right now, burden feels like the operative word. Owning all my failures doesn't feel like freedom. It feels like a very heavy backpack.
It is a heavy backpack, but once you stop fearing the weight of responsibility, you realize a profound, almost cosmic joke.
What's the joke?
The weight of responsibility is the exact same weight as freedom. They are the identical substance, just viewed from different angles.
I need you to explain that. How is the burden the same as the freedom?
Okay, let's use the sunk cost fallacy, another concept we've explored previously.
Right, the idea that you keep investing in a losing proposition just because you've already invested so much.
Exactly. Imagine you have invested 10 years into a career you hate.
Okay.
If you maintain an external locus of control, if you say, I can't leave because the job market is terrible, and my parents pressured me into this degree, and my boss is holding me back, you are avoiding the responsibility of your own complacency.
Right. It's everyone else's fault.
But by avoiding that responsibility, you also render yourself utterly powerless to change it. If it is entirely the economy's fault and your parents' fault, you are just a leaf blowing in the wind.
You have to wait for the wind to change.
Exactly. But if you take the blame...
If I take full responsibility for the mess.
Right. If you say, I chose to stay for 10 years because I was afraid of the unknown, the ego takes a massive hit. You feel the sting of regret.
That hurts.
It does. But simultaneously, you take full ownership of the power to clean it up. If your choices put you in this miserable position, then your choices possess the sheer, unadulterated power to get you out of it. You become the author again.
The weight of responsibility is the exact same weight as freedom. Wow. That completely shifts the gravity of the whole concept.
It does.
If I am the author of the bad chapters, it means I am the only one who holds the pen for the next chapter. If it's my fault, it's my fix.
This brings us to the most critical juncture of this deep dive.
Okay.
If episode 99 was the final moment of avoidance, and right now, at the century mark, we are surviving this final confrontation, what actually happens next?
Well, we are standing in the wreckage of our own excuses.
Yes, we are.
The map is gone. The shadows we were hiding in have been blasted away by the noon sun. We have to talk about the transition required of us right now. We are moving from the passive consumption of insights to becoming active architects of our reality.
We have to synthesize the source material's accusation, those 99 episodes of avoidance, with this present moment to define an entirely new paradigm.
Right.
We have to transition from the theoretical to the brutally practical.
This raises an important question then.
What is it?
If the era of avoidance is officially over, if the library is closed, the treadmill manual is thrown in the trash, and the research phase is done, what does the actual application of the one truth look like tomorrow morning?
Practically speaking.
Yeah, practically speaking. If someone has spent 99 cycles, whether we are talking about weeks, months, or the 99 deep dives they've spent with us, avoiding this fundamental ownership, how do they actually flip the switch today without feeling totally paralyzed by the sheer volume of things they now have to take responsibility for?
That's a vital question, because the human brain cannot handle a total software rewrite overnight.
Right, it would crash.
Exactly. The transition isn't about suddenly waking up tomorrow as a flawless, hyper-productive, stoic machine who never makes a mistake and effortlessly commands every aspect of their life.
Oh, thank goodness.
Taking full responsibility is not a demand for sudden perfection. It is simply a daily practice of radical honesty.
Radical honesty, not perfection. So I don't have to fix everything by noon tomorrow.
You don't have to fix anything by noon tomorrow, but you do have to stop lying about why it's broken. It starts the moment you wake up. You look at your life, your bank account, your physical health, your relationships, your career, and instead of immediately launching the defense protocols,
Instead of finding the structural, societal, or interpersonal reasons why it's not your fault.
exactly, you just say, I am where I am because of my choices.
I am where I am because of my choices.
Yeah.
Just stating it out loud.
Yes. You let the sting of that reality wash over you. You don't judge it. You don't spiral into self-loathing or toxic shame.
Because shame is just another form of self-indulgent avoidance.
Precisely. You just state your reality as an objective fact the way a scientist observes a chemical reaction.
Right.
Because acknowledging that singular difficult truth is the only mechanism that empowers the immediate necessary next thought.
Which is?
Therefore, my choices today can get me somewhere else tomorrow. You simply cannot steer a ship if you are in denial about who is currently holding the wheel.
And I want to speak directly to you listening right now.
Go ahead.
Because you might be feeling a mix of adrenaline and maybe a profound sense of regret. You might be looking back at all the books you've read, the podcasts you've consumed, the late nights falling down Wikipedia rabbit holes and thinking, did I just waste the last 99 sessions?
Have I just been spinning my wheels on that unplugged treadmill this whole time?
Exactly. And the answer is definitively no.
Far from it. The acquisition phase was not a waste, as long as it eventually ends.
You are uniquely equipped for this exact moment. Those previous 99 sessions built the scaffolding.
They did.
They gave you the mental framework, the vocabulary, the historical context, the economic theories, and the psychological understanding necessary to actually survive this final confrontation.
Right. You needed to understand the mechanics of the world before you could take full ownership of your place within it.
The preparation was necessary. It only becomes toxic if you refuse to let the preparation end.
That is the perfect synthesis. The knowledge you've accumulated over the past 99 deep dives is no longer a shield to hide behind.
No.
It is the toolkit you will now use to build. You have spent all this time studying the topography, learning how the tectonic plates shift, and understanding the weather patterns.
And now you actually have to walk into the wilderness.
Yes. The transition at this century mark is simply a shift in posture. You are stepping out of the audience and walking onto the stage.
We have covered a tremendous amount of philosophical, historical, and emotional ground today. And as we wrap up this incredibly introspective deep dive, I want to quickly retrace the steps we've taken, because the narrative arc here is crucial.
Let's do it.
We started by looking at that one singular source sentence, acknowledging that this isn't a casual, happy epiphany, but a final confrontation.
A literal standoff with our own evasion tactics, the moment the Cold War goes hot.
We examine the deeply uncomfortable paradox of the learner. We unpack the neurobiology of how the noble pursuit of knowledge, the dopamine hit of gathering facts without the cortisol spike of taking action, was actually acting as a brilliant disguise.
A sophisticated camouflage keeping us safe from the risk of the real world.
We recognize that preparation frequently masquerades as progress.
Yes, it does.
And finally, we stood face to face with the one truth itself. The paralyzing fear of taking full, uncompromising responsibility for every aspect of our lives.
The stripping away of every single scapegoat we use to protect our fragile egos.
But we reframed that fear. We must remember that this realization is not a punishment.
No, not at all. It is not an indictment of your character, and it is not a reason to despair over past inactions. It is the ultimate key to the agency you have been seeking all along.
The era of avoidance is officially closed.
The training wheels are off. The burden and the freedom are the exact same thing.
You know, we started this deep dive talking about maps and how we love having a map to show us the safe, proven route to a destination.
Right.
The reason we buy the domain names and read the manuals is that we are desperate for a guarantee that we won't get lost. But when you take full responsibility for your life, you realize that you aren't just following a map anymore.
You are the cartographer.
You are drawing the lines as you walk. And I want to leave you with one final lingering thought to ponder on your own long after you turn this audio off. Now that you can no longer claim ignorance, and you can no longer use learning as a sophisticated excuse to delay your life, what happens if you wake up tomorrow and discover that taking full responsibility isn't a crushing burden at all, but the absolute only true form of power you ever really possessed? What will you do with it?
Thanks for spending this time with us on Coffee Break. If this conversation stayed with you, you can find more episodes here on the channel. Until next time, take care.